All right. Welcome to our first class meeting of Step into Holiday Magic. Now, why did I call it that? Because some of you know that I am totally all about the holidays. I love the holidays. I love to decorate. I love Thanksgiving, but I almost can't wait for it to be done so I can decorate. That's sort of the me. Be that as it may, this is more than about stepping into holiday magic. This is going to be all about stepping into a body that is so happy and so comfortable and so healthy and so at ease that your body is ready for whatever you're going to ask it to do and ready for whatever might come at it. Which means it's not just about the holidays, it's about every day that you live. Every day you walk around in your body. Don't you want it to be comfortable and a happy existence? Yeah. And don't you want it to be one in which that you are literally ready? Here I go again, ready for whatever you're going to ask it to do and ready for whatever might come at it. So that is our goal. That is our objective. So right off the bat, for those who are new to this information, I think it's important that I explain to you what the energy system is. Some of you, it's going to be a review. And if it's a review, just take it as there might be some nugget in there that you really want to hear again, receive again, understand again. Amber, could you please mute yourself?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I got to figure out how real quick.
Okay, down in the bottom left-hand corner of your
Zoom
screen. There you go. Thank you. So we're going to do a review for some and brand new information for others. And whether it's new or review, let's go along for the ride. You willing to do that with me? So let me describe to you what you are. Each and every one of you is an energy system. You walk around in a body that is energy. Agree? Everything's energy. Everything in the world is energy. Think about it that way. Einstein said, energy equals MC squared. So everything is energy, and we need to approach our bodies in that form as well. And think about it this way as well. If you have a furry friend who you live with, their energy as well. So everything we talk about is going to work with your pets, work with your horse, work with anybody. Anything you learn, you can actually, bring this information to your partner, to the folks you live with, to your family, to your friends. I request that you share how easy and effortless it is to walking around in a body that's comfortable and healthy. So your body's an energy system. It has rivers of energy that run through it vertically and diagonally. Down the front, up the back, all sorts of directions. And as they flow, think of them as rivers of energy. And these rivers of energy have a purpose, a reason for being, a meaning. And basically, it's about making sure everything's in flow. Those rivers of energy flow through your body. And along those rivers are multiple energy balance points. They're the same points acupuncturists use to place their needles. We're going to learn how we can make use of these things called fingertips that you walk around with 24/7. So why not learn how to make use of them instead of having them hidden in your pockets? Make use of them to connect with the energy balance points on those meridians and channels that flow. And as we get them to connect and talk to each other, like connecting the dots, all of a sudden, your body's saying, I'm getting the message, because those rivers have a message. Each one of them has a purpose. And it's to make sure that the body you walk around in is a healthy, vibrant institution, environment, okay? So as they flow, and those energy balance points also have purposes, they can fulfill, they can be in flow, but if something impacts the system, daily living, stress, tension, habits, physical injury, an ailment. It could also be an emotional upset, could be too much thinking, none of thinking, cluttered thinking, shattered thinking, whatever it is. If the consequences of the impact are allowed to sit on the system and not moved out of the way, that body is going to go into reaction. Energy is going to go into reaction. Those rivers of energy are going to start getting sluggish and slow and jammed up and start acting and looking like they have beaver dams. And as any beaver dam sits on any river, it changes the flow pattern. It drops the level, it changes the current, it changes how well that river can fulfill its purpose. So what I do as an acupressurist is connect the dots. First, I feel where the energy is moving. And then as a result, feel where it's not moving, where the energy is blocked, where those beaver dams are. And then we utilize the movement of energy to push through the beaver dams, to get them to break apart, twig by twig, log by log, till all the pieces can float down the river and the body can go back to that place. Those rivers can go back to that place of movement, of flow. And when that happens, your body goes into a place of feeling energetic balance and harmony, which is what it wants more than anything else. It wants flow. Because guess what else happens? When the energy is flowing, the breath follows. And where the breath is, the energy flows. They work together, they play together. And that's one of the big things we're going to do together, folks, is show you and your body how it can be like a playground. Yes, a playground. Instead of a workforce, instead of all these jobs, we're going to show it how it can be in play. So that as it's in play, it's a collaboration. We get each piece and part of you to talk to every other piece and part of you. So each space, each layer, each level, each energy balance point, everything has a way to get a message to the rest of you. And then you can be ahead of the game. That's when we have the opportunity to be the best partner you've ever been with your body. Yes, that's the goal. No matter what the age, that's what the body wants. In fact, another way of looking at it is the body you walk around in. You want to have a good relationship with it, right? And guess what? It's the longest relationship you will ever, ever, ever have with anybody. So why not make it the best one you could ever have? I contend that when you spend some time every day having a daily practice, that's your foundation. And 20 plus years ago, I'd been in private practice for probably 5 years, about that time, maybe 4. I wrote a 9-step self-help acupressure flow that I call the daily clean your house flow. I wrote it for my clients and my students. I was teaching workshops at that point already. And I decided, as I was playing with the energy, so to speak, this 9 steps came to mind. And as I played with them more and got them to come into fruition, I call it the daily clean your house flow, because the body you walk around in is your house. And if you clean it out every day, get rid of the dust bunnies and cobwebs, vacuum it out as often as you need it, you are literally creating an environment that you walk around in that is available to you to do its job easier with less effort, to gift to you. Hear those words, to gift to you the opportunities of strength, of vitality, of health and wellness, a place where you can take care of you even better. So I created the daily clean your house flow, and that's what we're going to do first. And some of you know it, but there's no such thing as too much self-help. So if you've already done it today, let's do it again. So the very first step in the daily clean your house flow is to give yourself a hug. By the way, everything's light, gentle touch, utilizing these fingertips. And for this first step, you're placing your fingertips anywhere from your elbow on up the upper arm, wherever your hands happen to land is okay. And it's light, gentle touch using those fingertips. You're going to hold each of these steps for a couple good breaths. The kind of breath, and do you feel it already? Do you feel that breath? Do you feel the ease, the calm? That's your lungs and diaphragm kicking in. You know what else this point connects with? Again, no wrong. So wherever your fingertips land, so it means it can be different anytime. You're connecting with an energy balance point that's connected to your heart health, vibrance of heart, essence of blood, bringing oxygenated blood to every part of you, every tissue. There you go, light, gentle touch. That's the first step. You can use this off and on, all by itself, all throughout the day, whatever makes sense for you. This is a go-to. Now, I want you to put your hands right now down on your thighs. That's not a part of the daily flow yet, but I want you to take a moment. Did you feel your breath expand? Did it feel different than it's felt before? Let's take a look at it. Bring your hands to your tummy. Breathe into your tummy. Do you feel your hands coming forward with your breath? Do you feel the back body up against your chair moving with the breath? It should be, because that back body wants to receive the inhale as much as the front body. Your side bodies want to move as much as the back and front bodies. So it's really, really important to feel that breath expanding with the inhale and even feel the movement of the body with the exhale, which is the purging. Okay? Just get a read on that right now. And then when we start up again, I hope you notice a difference. Now bring your hands to about the base of your sternum, about right here. At your diaphragm area, actually. Breathe into that space. Do you feel your hands moving forward with the breath? Do you feel your back body moving up against the chair? If not, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But I want you to get a kind of a grassroots base level read so that as we do this work together, you'll notice more and more of a change. Is that a deal? You willing to do that with me? Cool. Breathe into that and just get a read. Now bring your hands to your chest. It can be like this. They can be hand over hand, however you want to do this, and breathe. Do you feel your front body moving with the breath? I'm guessing most of you do, because most of us breathe from the upper chest. That's where most of us spend our time. Do you feel with the next inhale, do you feel your back body around the tops of your shoulder blades moving with the inhale? Do you feel the exhale? Just get a read. There. Now, I want you to come here again, hold for a few good breaths, right at upper arms, wherever your hands land, light, gentle touch. And hold, breathe. Do you feel a difference now as you breathe? Maybe not yet. We'll check it again later. Again, you can do this off and on throughout the day, all by itself. The next step in the daily clean your house flow sounds kind of silly. You're going to sit on your hands. Fingertips holding up. So your palms are facing up into your buttocks area. You're on your sit bones. Hold that for a couple good breaths. Now, if that's uncomfortable for any reason, if any of these are uncomfortable, you modify, because you can't do anything wrong, because there's no right. Figure that one out, folks. There's no perfection. This is where you get to kick perfection right out of the door and never see it again, doing your self-help acupressure. Is that a deal? Now, when you're at this sit bone area, you're bringing vitality into the body. When this energy balance point is in a state of balance and harmony, it brings vitality to every cell of your being. So if this brings breath into the body, then bringing it to your sit bones helps your body experience that breath throughout. And as it's experiencing the breath throughout, experience the energy throughout. We could stop there, but we're not going to, because we're going to expand the ability of your body to really make a difference for itself. Again, be the best partner you can ever be. Now I'm going to mirror you. Keep your left hand at your sit bone. Bring your right hand over to your shoulder, about where your neck and shoulder come together. Right in that area that many folks start feeling as buildup of tension. Well, there's a reason for that. This energy balance point has a tendency to accumulate blocked energy. So when it goes into a state of balance and harmony, its purpose is to help your body let go of accumulation pattern. Okay? So holding here again with light, gentle touch, all right there, and your sit bone, you're helping to move all the energy through the top of the head, the back of the head, the neck, the shoulders, the back, all through the mid back, the low back, the sacrum, the hips, the legs, the thighs, the knees, the calves, the feet, all the way down and out. And then go to the other side. Again, with light, gentle touch, you're going to hold about right there, and you're going to hold at your sit bone. Again, the movement. By the way, this one works so well, it can even help prevent injury. So some of you know I'm an avid gardener. And when I get into my work in the garden, sometimes I don't like stopping. So this is my best friend. I do this off and on before I garden, while I'm out there doing all sorts of chores, lifting pots, doing wheelbarrows of dirt, whatever the case may be. It helps move the energy. So can you imagine that this is also an extra special one to do before, during, after exercise, no matter what your exercise program is? We'll talk more about that as we go forward, okay? Now, cross your hands. I'm going to move the screen so you can see where my hands are going, and hold your opposite inner thighs about right there. They can be anywhere from your knees on up, wherever they want to land. Light, gentle touch. That energy balance area is all about processing and digestion. So yes, using this as a point before, during, after eating is prime for helping your body ingest, digest, and assimilate. But guess what? What else do we do about digestion? It's anything that we bring to us or that is brought to us. Information, ideas, concepts, beliefs, attitudes, behaviors, you name it. Think of the words we use. What do we do with a new piece of information? We take it in. We chew on it. We might even taste it. If it's really tasty, we might salivate over it. If we decide we don't want it, by the way, what do? We spit out those words, right? We spit it out. We don't want to have that as part of what we're going to digest. The thing is once we've decided to keep it in and swallow it, we have started the complete digestion process. We swallow it, we move it through, we process it, we stomach it, all of which has to happen before it's fully digested. So then it can be assimilated to bring sustainability to the body. Whether it's emotions, thoughts, conversation, or food for nutrient. We take care of everything we bring in as digestion. So I want this to go into here, if you could please, to recognize that when our hands are here, we're helping everything more easily be processed, no matter what it is. Then the next step of the daily clean your house flow. Do you feel that, by the way? Light, gentle touch, remember. And as you do this more and more, you may very well start feeling the pulse beneath your fingertips. Some people don't feel it as pulse. I feel it as pulse, as texture, as temperature change. Some people just feel it like a vibration. Some people feel it like, might even hear sounds or see colors. It's however you process the movement of energy. Okay? Next step is to palm your calves. This is going to be in your notes in the handout, the whole kit and caboodle, okay? That sounds Midwestern, doesn't it? So your hand is going to palm the calf like so, like that. right on right, left on left. Now, this is the first time in the whole 9 steps where if you were in the middle of a meeting, a conference, or whatever the case may be, it's the first time as you're bending over to palm your calves that somebody might say, what is she or he doing, right? So if there is that going on, because I do workplace wellness programs and this gets used a lot in the workplace, they might use it during a meeting, the person who's learning it, using it. So if there's a thought about that, you could hold the outside of your knees, which would be right here. Whether you're here or here, you're connecting with an energy balance area. And here I say area, remember, energy balance areas. Yes, they're energy balance points, but there's no perfect. It's an area. So it's wherever your hands land. So whether you're at the outside or the calf, you are connecting with an energy balance area that's all about the letting go. It's about elimination. So if the inside of the thighs and the inside of the knees is all about processing and digesting, outside of the knees and palming the calves is all about letting it go. Again, not just about the food you've processed for digestion. It's also all about thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, information, all this stuff we want to let go of. Get it out of the way. Don't have it be clogged up in the way of everything being easily processed and moved through, okay? Then the next step is to hold the back of your base of your skull, left on left, right on right, very light, gentle touch. I love this one. I love them all. This always feels so exceptionally nurturing to me. This does too. This one is like, wow. And you know why? Because when this energy balance area experiences balance and harmony, it allows your body to be connected to complete consciousness and awareness. Also, it connects with clarity and focus. So when you're here, it's all about allowing yourself to be in that place of utilizing memories, utilizing conscious awareness, utilizing connection and alignment to have easier, phenomenal connection to energy. This is where you really can make a difference with how you are in your day-to-day existence. And we'll talk more about that as we go forward. I love this one. Kids love it too, by the way, because guess what? It helps them study. It helps them take tests. It helps them be connected to the information. There you go. Beautiful. Doesn't that feel good? Also, by the way, we'll discover later, it's very much a part of sleep. So during the day, it keeps you awake and processing information. At sleep time, it helps you go to sleep, stay asleep, and be connected to the information of the memories in dream state. Let's have fun with that one. Then the next step is to hold your hands with your hands up against your sternum like so. There you go. And when you're there, it's all about alignment. Yes, it's alignment with higher consciousness. So that's why some people might call it prayer, namaste, right? It can just be alignment. It's alignment of spinal column. It's alignment of all the energy vortex of the body, getting everybody to work together on the same page, play together on the same page. And it's another moment for full, expansive breath. Do you feel that? Isn't that sweet? So that's 8 steps. The 9th step is called jumper cables, one of my favorites. And that's gently cupping each thumb and finger. Doesn't matter which hand you start at. Start with the thumb, couple good breaths. And then after a couple good breaths, you go to the index finger. You're going to do each finger on each hand. Thumb, index, middle, couple good breaths, gently cupping. And when you're doing this, you're connecting with all the energy that's entering and exiting your body, helping it to experience balance. So off and on throughout the day, whoa, what an easy way to connect with your energy. and feel calm and vital and vibrant and at ease and ready for whatever you're going to ask it to do. You know what else it does? It helps to balance all emotion. Now, I'm not saying emotion is bad because that's what helps us be human. But when emotion gets really big and takes your breath away, takes you out of the ability to move forward, it's a little bit too big. Would you agree? Okay. And you can have your hands, by the way, in your lap or anywhere else you want them. Okay. And it's just gently touching. So I'm going to go on to the next hand, and we're going to help get each hand, each thumb and finger is about this. We're going to help get rid of worry fast. You hold the thumb to let go of worry. All of these are important emotions. Each one of them has helped us figure out how to be in our bodies, how to be in our thoughts, how to be in our minds, how to be in our emotional space. So worry helps us recognize what needs to be dealt with, what is of concern. But guess what? If you help let go of worry, what are you accessing? The power of wisdom. So an affirmation could be, because this can be part of a meditation. You could affirm that, hey, I want wisdom. Body, bring me wisdom. Then it's get rid of worry fast. F-A-S-T. Cup the F, the index finger, and let go of fear. Again, an important emotion. It's what helped us learn very, very, very early on what we needed to have to experience safety and security. And when we're not all wrought up and caught up in that as an emotion, we are accessing the energy of freedom. That's your F. Bring freedom in. And then the A of fast. Let go of anger, frustration. Now, this is based on Japanese, Jin Shin Jitsu. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Little did they know, we'd be holding our middle fingers up in anger. So instead of kind of raising your finger, how about just gently cupping it and bringing on the energy of awareness? Because if anger gets too big, it goes to rage. We can actually recognize if there's even a hint of irritation. Stop it before it gets to frustration. Stop it before it gets to anger, and it'll never get to rage. Wow. More about that later. And then the S is all about sadness or grief. Again, a very important emotion. Helps us recognize what we've missed, what we've lost, what we're missing, what maybe feels like it needs to be replaced, some energy that needs to be replaced, maybe a loved one, like the energy of that loved one. All important. And yet, if that takes over, we have a hard time finding joy. Would you agree? Being able to experience gratitude when we're caught up in sadness and grief. And then the T is the trying to's, trying too hard, trying too much, trying to do it all. That place of efforting, that's no longer a verb when it becomes a description of how we are. So to let go of that and access the energy of trust. Step into trust, step into faith, step into that space of knowingness that you and your body together are on a journey to experience ease, comfort, breath, energy flow, being the best partner you could ever be with anyone. Okay? That's the daily clean your house flow. And it's easy to do. Most of my clients and students who've been doing it for a while just do it because they recognize that it's so easy and it accomplishes that place of being ready for the day. There's no such thing as too much self-help. So guess what? You could start the day with it. You could end the day with it. That's what I do. I start every day with it. I end every day with it. And there may be days where I decide to pull out my fingertips and do it again, or utilize the steps individually for whatever my body is asking for. And by the way, when I do my energy work, it's not about expecting my body to get stuck, the energy to get stuck. It's more like helping my body recognize that I'm asking it to be in flow. and want it to be in flow. And when it's in flow, it's happier. It's more prepared for anything that comes around the corner, whether it's a square corner or curved corner. We never know what's going to happen. So just be ready. With that in mind, then we can utilize all the other energy tips I'm going to show you tonight and next Tuesday and the following Tuesday. Because when you create the platform, it is the foundation. Whether you use the daily clean your house flow or something else, you need, in my opinion, to be so bold, you need to have a foundation in place that your body recognizes you're taking care of it. So it will take care of you. And then from there, everything else you do for it, eat right, take the right supplements, get enough sleep, drink enough water, get the best exercise you can get for you, get the activity, get fresh air and sun. Everything you do for your body will be more easily received, assimilated, and create sustainability if the energy is in flow. And that's why I love doing my energy work and why I teach what I do, because I notice the difference. And I'd say the vast majority of my clients and students notice it as well. So I'll tell you a quick story. And some of you know this, and maybe you'll chuckle right along again. So I, few years back, had a group of teachers who came to me, elementary school teachers who were clients and taken my workshops and had taken what I taught them into the classroom. They were taking the daily clean your house flow. And they were doing this step by step. We created a, bigger vision for them so they could show it on the screen every morning. And they came to me and said, would you just create a real program, create something real that it's easy to follow? And I was having a conversation with a very dear friend, a client who's a phenomenal artist. And the two of us she did the art, created the animated video of the daily clean your house flow. And if you haven't seen it yet, you can go to my website, deborahmyerswellness.com, click on the purple button, get in touch, stay in touch, and put in your name and email address, and you will get the animated video forever at no charge. It's my gift because I want everybody to be able to utilize it. And guess what? Kids love it, but we're all kids at heart, no matter what our age as adults. So adults love it just as much. So this group of kids, a group of teachers were utilizing it in the classrooms, and we brought in the animated video and more are using it. And one day I'm in line at CVS, and this found out he was 9 years old, was with his mom, had me in the line, and she bends down and says, Joey, that's Deborah. She's the one that did the daily clean your house flow video. And he looked at me and said, she recognized me through some of the classes I've been teaching in the school. And he looked at me and said, that's you? And I go, yeah, do you like it? He goes, well, I love it. I said, really, how often do you do it? And he looked at me perplexed. He said, well, every day it is the daily flow. And then I said, well, that's awesome. And then he said, well, I do it more than once a day. I said, really? He goes, yeah, I do it every morning at school. I do it in the afternoon at school, because we've all agreed that it's the best thing to do for ourselves. And then every night I do it again at home because my mom got it for us at home. I said, wow, why? He looked at me and I said, why have you decided it's so important to do? He says, well, because. I said, well, tell me. And he looked down at his feet and he said, well, I'm studying, get better, so I'm getting better grades, Mom. Right, Mom? She shakes her head, yes. He goes, I'm not sick anymore, so I'm not missing any school. Wow. Found out later that this young man had been missing lots of school because he was always catching something. Well, he recognized that in the last 4 months of doing this in school, he was no longer sick. Wow. It connects with the immune system. We're going to talk more about that. Then he says, and with his hand on his hip, he goes, I'm getting along better with my brother now. That's absolutely crazy. Isn't that cute? And everybody in line chuckled. And then he goes, and I play a better game of soccer. So why wouldn't I do it? Out of the mouth of a 9-year-old came these phenomenal reasons. And look what he talked about. Getting along with his brother, studying better, clarity and focus, feeling better, playing a better game of soccer. So all activities, he noticed the changes that were taking place. And that's what I want you to recognize, is that how much difference we can make. He didn't understand what the different steps were about. Yeah, it was in the animated video, but it's like, it's kind of forgotten about. Except as they learn more and more, the kids started actually giving direction to their schoolmates, their classmates, saying, if somebody was having a trouble studying, oh, why don't you do this? This really works. See, this really works. How beautiful is that? So they started being better partners with each other as well as good partners with themselves. I mean, how good and cool is that? So I want you to know that all of that is possible and a whole lot more. So now I want you to go ahead and place your hands on your tummies again, just like so, and breathe. Do you now already notice a difference in your breath? Do you feel now your back body moving more up against the chair? You know why? Because we are connecting with muscle, ligament, tendon, fascia, tissue. We're connecting with the skeletal system. Everything we've been doing has been working with that and all the organs, as well as the meridians that are connected to the organs, as well as immune, endocrine, adrenal, lymphatic, and nervous systems. All of that is getting connected and getting to play together easier and more effortless by these things called fingertips. So that's the daily clean your house breath. Now, go ahead and do this one more time. Give yourself a love hug, because that's what this is about. It's giving love to yourself, giving compassion to yourself, showing your body how much you are into taking care of it. So this is where it becomes the game of reciprocity. Think of it that way. When the body recognizes that you're taking care of it, it will take better care of you. What a beautiful partnership. It works with breath. It takes care of you. So the first page in your handout, you don't have to go look at it now, is all about accessing breath. So this is one of the best things to do off and on throughout the day. If you ever feel short of breath or just want a moment to give yourself that space of giving love to self, showing you how much you care for you, give yourself this space right here. Okay? Feel that, understand it, comprehend it. Another one you can beautifully access for breath is cupping your thumbs. It helps let go of worry, right? Remember that? And access the wisdom of the body. Worry is one of the things, one of the emotions that has the most tendency to take our breath away, to stop us in our tracks. Think about that. Think of the words we use. If we've lost our breath, we talk about trying to get our breath back, waiting with bated breath, waiting for the next shoe to drop. So when we are feeling that space, hold your thumb. The other emotion that really can take your breath away is fear. So you can hold your index finger to help the body recognize how easily and effortless it can access lungs and diaphragm breath. It's that simple. That's what all this is. It's all about simplicity. Because when it's simple, won't you agree that we'll more easily and readily take care of ourselves in this way? And that's what I love doing with self-help acupressure. That's a reason why my books are called Easy Self-Help Acupressure, because I want it to be easy for you. Make a difference in who you are and how you are in your body. Another really awesome way to access breath is to sandwich your lung, simply like this. Make a wing, so your fingers, so I'm going to show you, I'm mirroring you, place your right hand, your left hand, I'm sorry, your left hand at the base of your rib cage, like so. So you're right at the low rib, right at that short rib, light, gentle touch. Use your other hand, your right hand, below your collarbone, right there. Light, gentle touch. This works so well to access breath that it will even help your respiratory system if you are reacting, if you have a cough, if you feel shortness of breath, if you feel like you really just need to have a deep, deep breath take place. The beauty is, folks, that you only have to do one side for it to work, because as is on the right, so is on the left. That's what I teach in my ongoing workshops. But guess what? If it works, why not do the other side? This works so well that, can you imagine if you are traveling? We are starting to travel again, right? That this would be a really easy one to do while you're on the airplane. It'd be a super easy one to do any room you're in where it's recirculated air. We want to boost the respiratory system to be more available. There, that's beautiful. This can actually help respiratory distress. Go figure. So another one that you'll find in your notes, in the handout, and let me know if you didn't get it. Actually, you'll be getting it if you didn't come across it the first time around. When you get the next email, hopefully tomorrow, you'll get a copy of this recording and you'll get a copy of the handout. So just know that it's always available to you, okay? So another one that works really well is back to the cupping here, holding your upper arm, and have your other hand hold the opposite inner thigh, right there. Remember that one was about processing and digesting? Well, guess what it does? Guess what else? It accesses energetic breath. When I work with new babies and little kids, open up the energy of the knees, of the inner thigh, to have more breath available to the whole body. So doing this, and you can do both sides, why not? Will help your body be in a state of breath. There. So can you imagine that if you are going to visit, because this is all about the holidays, if you're going to go be with family, and there's a tendency that there's a particular person, or maybe several, that have a tendency to cause you to hold your breath a little bit, waiting for the next shoe to drop, kind of like you button your tongue so you don't say something in response to. Does that ever happen to you with family? Or maybe with dear, dear friends that they are dear friends and you just want it to go smoothly? So you could actually do this in the moment when you feel that. Guess what? You can do it as preventative measure. Help your body be not prepared for the shoe to drop, not waiting for the breath to be stuck and the energy to be stuck, but as a proactive measure of, I want to be in breath. I want this to go smoothly. I want this to be an awesome experience. And you just hold like this. Or you give yourself a hug. Is anybody going to be even the wiser that you're doing something? Well, if they are, show them, by all means. Why not share the wealth of energy tips, right? Be in a state of calm within you. So here's a good one for you. I want to make sure I get to this one today for sure. So have you ever do any of you get tight jaws? Huh? We got some tight jaws hanging out here and there. Yeah. So guess what? It doesn't have to be that way. Tight jaw just simply means that maybe you're clenching a little bit, or maybe there's an old pattern of biting your tongue, or an old pattern of holding tight through here. Okay. So if you are someone who gets tight jaw, just go to here for a moment and feel what it feels like. Okay. What's that feel like? Can your fingertips feel like they're almost like bouncing off because they're tight? Or is there enough room that your fingertips just sink in to the tissue? I hope that's the case for you. But if you are someone who has tight jaw, or that, I hate labels, but that thing called TMJ, just hold here for a moment. Feel that? Okay. Now I want you to experience something. So right underneath your collarbones, right under here, draw your fingertips right under there. And as they come from the outside in, as they come close to the sternum, to the breastplate, do you notice that there is a triangular dip right there where the collarbone and the first rib come together? Right there. You feel that? Okay. That's what we're going to access. This energy balance area, by the way, is all about gathering and dispersal. Remember, I said each energy balance area has a purpose. This one's about gathering in of air, bringing it throughout your body as breath. Gathering in of energy, bringing it to every cell of your being. Gathering in of food, bringing it throughout your body as nutrient. That's what this energy balance area is all about. And in Eastern medicine, it's totally connected to chi, which is another word for energy. So just feel that right there. We're going to access that. The other energy balance area we're going to access is the line between your navel and pubic bone right here. And you're going to hold your fingertips in a vertical pattern when we get there. Okay. So right now, come to here, cup your sternum. That's what we're going to be doing. Bring your hands away from that for a moment. Drop your jaw. And how easy is that for it to happen? Now, if you have a tight jaw, that could be a little tricky. If you feel the shifting, maybe you're lucky and it doesn't get tight. Or maybe it's just moments in time. So just feel that right now. How easy is it for you to drop your jaw and have that space within your mouth and within the roof of your mouth? So now cup the sternum like so, right in those triangular points, and hold your other hand here at your tummy. Hold for a few good breaths, accessing the energy of gathering and dispersal. And when we're at this tummy, we're accessing the energy of foundation, of safety, of security, of joy, of laughter. Just think of it that way. And when you're here and here, holding for a couple good breaths, it does not matter which hand is where, by the way. When you're there, now drop your jaw and see how easy it is, how much space there is. You feel that? I'm getting some nods. Yes, congratulations. That's how easy it is. And by the way, it works so well that it's the best thing you can do for yourself in the dentist chair. Aha. If it can drop the jaw, it can open up the mouth and create space. And my dentist and hygienist say, I can open up my mouth bigger than anybody they know. That's how good it works. I have a real small opening through here, but when I do this, it is amazing how much difference it can make. That's the beauty of this stuff called energy balancing, self-help acupressure. We can access the energy of the points, help them fulfill their purpose. At the same time, we help fulfill what we want to do. If you're in the dentist chair, you want to have it be easy, right? You know when else this works? When you want to speak your truth. When you want to have good, adequate breath, be in the moment. Speak your truth. So isn't that something you want to do when you are with family at Thanksgiving or beyond into the rest of the holidays? We want to be able to be in that place of ease, being available to the moment to make it the best it can be. That's what this is all about. Stepping into holiday magic is all about being in the moment and allowing our emotions to bring information to us. That's the purpose of emotions, is to allow us to experience what the information is that we need to receive to recognize, to acknowledge, so that we can take the next step and not be in the state of out of calm, out of ease, in a place of reaction. Instead of reaction, let's just be. And as an acupressurist and Jinshin Jitsu practitioner, Jinshin Jitsu is an ancient form of Japanese acupressure. That's my goal, is to bring to you, whether it's in person, and the in person is one-on-one via screen or on my table, whether the information is coming in this framework, giving you ideas, possibilities for how to walk around in a body that is healthier, happier, more comfortable, more available to what you want to be. When we recognize whatever is going on, we can more easily bring attention to what the body is requesting so that we can follow through with whatever the next step is. So can you see how everything we've already been talking about can potentially work with relationship, with being in the moment in a social space, with being one-on-one with clientele or one with group, whether it be what you're asking your body to do when it comes to activity, golfing, for instance, soccer for kids or whatever, volleyball, baseball, basketball, you name it, biking, hiking, walking, gardening. A couple of you are avid gardeners, I know it. So think about all that you can be doing for yourself between now and the next time we meet that will allow you to more easily do what you want to do, be who you want to be, and accomplish what you want to accomplish. That's the goal, if I may be so bold. And as we step into this space called holiday magic, it's all about being available to you. You can't be available to anybody else until first you care for yourself. Help your own body be in that state of balance and harmony. Go ahead and put your hands on your tummy again and breathe. Feel the space that was created for the inhale. Where the energy is moving, all you have is space because there's no blockages. There's no blocked energy balance beaver dams. What you have is space because when energy is moving, which is what it wants to do, it hates being stuck. In fact, it will refuse to be stuck if it can be. Energy has to move, just like those rivers. They don't like being stuck and blocked. So as we move our energy, we access breath. We access more comfortable, easy digestion. We access the letting go of elimination, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. When the energy is flowing, we access the ability of our body to step into all its potential, which is why as we progress in the 3 weeks, we're also going to be talking about how to let go of efforting, how to bring on vitality, how to bring on that space of ease, of calm, of joy, of being ready for anything you want to be. So that's where we get to step into manifesting our destiny. Wow, we can even do that. So for those of you, and there's several of you that are coaches and work with your clients in that way, whether you're a life coach or eating coach, I know a couple of you are, whether you work with kids or with adults, whoever you are with, to help our folks step into more easily who they want to be. All of that is possible. Manifest the destiny you want. And we will actually be playing with the energy balance areas with that in mind as we progress. Because why shouldn't the holiday be season be everything you want? And 2022, can you believe we're talking 2022? Help 2022 be everything we want it to be. Help life be an adventure. Because if it's not an adventure, what on earth are we here for? We, as human beings, want vitality and want joy and laughter and happiness. And that's what we get to make available to ourselves when the energy is moving. So next time, we're going to be spending more time with head, because I know I have heard tell that there's several folks on the call who are dealing with chronic conditions like migraines, headaches. So we're going to not draw attention to it. We're going to access the energy balance points that can help the body recognize that kind of project can change up. Hear that? I called it project. I call things projects instead of problems because projects are more fun to work with and have a beginning and an end. Projects have a beginning and an end, just like an art project does. That's who you are. You're an art project. Let's help it have more fun and laughter and happiness. So another thing we're going to draw attention to as we work with head and face and continue with breath, we're going to access clarity and focus and productivity. And then we're going to have lots of fun helping the body say, if I can do that, I can do a whole lot more. We're going to talk about sleep, help the body really step into easy sleep. Get the most you can out of that time. Because as we work and play with the energy, we can help dream state. We can help vitality be boosted with rest, with rejuvenating, restful sleep. And I hope that's what you get tonight as well. So with that in mind, one last step is to go to here. Hold the back of your base of your skull, right at the back of the head. Light, gentle touch, right at the occipital area. Can be right on the ridge. It can be right underneath it. There's no wrong because there's no right. Hold there for light, gentle touch. Feel the beauty of the space of consciousness, of awareness. If it can help you have consciousness and awareness during daytime awake time, think of what it can do for sleep time. And then if you are someone who has a hard time going to sleep or waking up and going back to sleep, may I suggest my thought for you as we leave is to consider holding here when you first lay down and then start jumper cabling. And hold each one for as long as you want. And if you're not asleep by the time you get to your little finger second time around, do it again and do it again. It's all about repatterning. We're going to be talking more about this. Everything we're doing is about repatterning, reprogramming, giving your body a new habit, a new way of being, which is really an old way. It's helping each and every part of you feel stronger, feel more available, feel more ready to let go and experience the now. And that's what I want for you for this week. For those of you who celebrate Thanksgiving, there's a few on the call who don't because they're not in this country. For those of you who do, I hope you have the best possible day imaginable and step into the possibilities with you, okay? And no matter what, I hope what you found out today helps you feel your breath, feel your energy moving. And off and on throughout the day, give yourself the gift of energy flow, of energy balance and harmony. That's what I wish for you in oh so many ways. Feel the breath, feel the joy. Be good to yourself and give yourself a hug because you deserve it. Be the best partner you have ever been with yourself. Because when you're there for yourself, you'll be more readily available for others in your life. All right. Have a great night. Sleep well. Any questions come up, feel free to email me, Deborah at deborahmyerswellness.com. You'll have all the information on the handout and in the email. And any questions at all, any thoughts, something you want to have addressed, reach out to me, okay? Now, before you say goodbye, you may willing to take yourself off mute if you'd like, and I will stop the recording if you want me to. Be good to yourselves. Yay. Appreciate all of you for being here. All righty. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Deb.
You are so welcome. Be good to yourselves. Have a great, great Thanksgiving week.
Thanks, Deb. You as well.
All righty. I hope you enjoyed it, Jessica.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Thank you.
Hey, you betcha. Oh, that's from the Midwest. All right.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.